Hey,
How are you?
doing well, doing well.
Good. Where are
We're
you
gonna,
located?
I'm in West Monroe, Louisiana, but today I'm in Alabama visiting.
Okay.
How about yourself?
Tampa, Florida.
Okay, very nice.
Yeah. So I heard Kyle was putting this one on, so it'd be fun to get some different perspectives.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll, as everybody gets on, because we're still a little bit early, I'm taking it all the way back to like, what's the first steps? What is the beginning level? I think some of us that call for sub owners a lot, we forget that stuff and we get into our normal rhythm and then we may miss something. And then for those agents that have never done it before, so I'm just going to start at the very beginning.
That'd be great.
Yeah. And then I'm going to play and see really quick if I can make my background prettier than my green screen. So let's see.
Is that the secret? A green screen?
It is. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's what I've been missing. Because I bleed in and out.
Yeah, and it's the green screen and my understanding, and it literally my brother does this all the time. It's just a green sheet,
That's
like
a
it's not
great idea.
anything fancy. I mean, you can, but you don't have to.
I'm gonna try that now. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, you already the price of admission. We've already got it covered.
Exactly. Good stuff.
So that's different.
What's going on?
Oh well, we'll just have that green background. It won't be near as pretty as I. That's okay.
Is it not coming up?
No, it's just doing like a. It's actually doing it on my face instead of the green.
Try
It's
it again.
setting on my computer. Let's see. Welcome. We're going to get started in just a couple minutes.
I was on here earlier and I was like, why didn't it start yet? And I realized that it was Central Time.
Yeah.
I do that all the time.
I think everyone on the East Coast thinks the world revolves around us.
Yeah, we do.
Well, we
Either
didn't
that
do that.
or Greenwich Mean Time, one or the other.
Huh. I wonder if it's the actual picture versus the background. It's okay. Yeah, it's fine. That's not necessary for today. Of course, I typically do calls from home, so I'm at my brother's house, so it's just a bit of an interesting day. It'll be fine. All right, so we're going to go ahead. It's 1:03. I want to make sure that we respect everybody's time, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I will tell you, we should have some other people jump on, and if they do, they do, and if they don't, that's fine too. Today's class is really going to be about fear, like actual stuff, we're not going to be talking theory, right? Now, there will be opportunity for you to ask questions. This is going to be very laid back. There's no, like, this is my agenda, right? It is objection handling, problem presentation, scripts, what to say when. As I was sharing with Paul as he jumped on, we're going to go back to, like, this is for sub owner 101. If you've never called it for sub owner, two things that I'm trusting that this will do. If you've never called for sub owners, you're going to be able to have a plan when we finish today of what to actually do. For those of you that have called for sub owners in the past, what my intention is when we get in the habit of doing things, a lot of times if we're not careful, we become very entrepreneurial, and we might leave something out that could actually have been effective, and we don't even realize that maybe how it's impacting our results. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you where to find the material that I'm getting. The cool part is none of it's new, right? Like, this is some of the stuff that whenever I first started doing for sub owners back in 2007 or 8, we had access to this. The conversations don't change. It's how we say it. And, you know, if we're utilizing an example or a parable or a story, you would just update that story to your area, that person, that type of thing. And yet the actual process has not changed much. So that's a little bit about what we're doing today. My name's Alivia Roberts. I am a MAPS Mastery Coach. Hey, I've got a few of our clients on here. I was a bold coach. So, like, a little bit about me. 2006, got into real estate. 2007 was the core group at the Keller Williams that we started in West Monroe, Louisiana. I was in my early 20s. I did not know what I wanted to be when I grew up. And somebody talked me into getting my real estate license after my dad had passed away so that I could move home. I was working, gosh, what I felt like anyways, knowing what I know now, it wasn't all work. I felt like I was working 50, 60 hours. And I was, like, even by 2009, I was closing 30-something houses a year. In my area, we don't have a high price point, so it wasn't a lot of money. And I felt like all I did was work, and I didn't even like it. Took bold in 2009, and I had a huge epiphany with John Prescott in there. I was like, oh my gosh, wait, you mean I can have anything that I want in this entire world, and real estate is a vehicle that can get me there? Okay, maybe this is where I'm going to go with my world. Completely transformed the things that I started to do and got very intentional about everything. By 2012, we were closing around 140 units. I think we were 140 exactly that year. In the next 2 years, we had 162, and that was 10 bolds later. So I'm a big proponent of bold. A lot of it is, if we look at the things that stop us from being successful, it's typically two things, right? It's a skill set or a mindset. That's it, right? And so bold covers both of those. Now, with that said, as of January, I'm exclusively a Mastery 101 coach. If you're not in Mastery and you have questions or you'd like to know more about that, ask me at the end or send me a message. I'd be glad to have conversations with you about that. Now, all of that aside, we're going to dive into for sub owners. Something that I'm going to ask you guys is go ahead and write down what is the thing that if you walked away from it today, one thing, you'd be like, okay, that was useful for me. Like, that was the price of admission, right? Like, that actually is going to help me move to next. So write that down. What is it that you would love to walk away from today? All right, perfect. Now, what I'm going to do from there is I'm going to go ahead and just dive in. The reason that I had you write that down is because as we go over it, if you get that, check it off. You know that you spent time well spent today. If we get to the end and you don't have that, I want you to bring it up and say, hey, can you point me to this? Can you tell me that? Or can you dive further into this, right? Decide to become a master at for sale by owners. If you can master for sale by owners, and we can do a whole nother class on expires, everything else gets easier. If you never ever list a for sale by owner, like you become a master and you list them and then you decide, you know what, I never want to list anymore. That's okay. You will know your scripts and dialogues better than anybody else, and it will make those, when you're just having conversations with your traditional repeat and referral clients, nobody can touch you. Nobody will take your clients. It's an amazing piece. So that's what we want to look at, is how do you become a master at this? So something that I'm going to ask is, as we go through this today, there's lots of information. Some of us are going to take that information and we're going to go, all right, let's go to work. Some of us, behavioral style, is going to go, oh, I need to research it. I need to read it. I need to blah, 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 blah. Both are okay, except for what we know is if we don't take action within 24 hours, odds are we're not ever going to take action. So what I'm going to ask is today, but before 1 o'clock tomorrow, and if you do it today, you'll be better off for it. Call a for sale owner. Go knock on a for sale owner's door. Like, actually do that today. We are going to give you some scripts for it, but you might go, well, but I won't have had time to prepare them. You're going to take your business, if that's the way that you feel, you're going to take your business card, you're going to knock on their door, and they're going to open the door, and you're going to shove it at their face, and you're going to say, I'm a realtor, if I can help you, call me, and you're going to leave. You're going to run. It's just, we've got to get on the court in order to go, okay, what works and what doesn't work, right? So we've got to start somewhere. Then take the material and everything that I'm going to share with you today and study, study, study. Create your system. I'm going to give you lots of scripts, and you're going to get rid of the majority of them. You don't have to know every objection handler. You've got to know a few, right? So with that said, we're going to go ahead and dive in and start looking at this. So for sub owners, so number one, where do we find them? That tends to be a question. You can hire a service, like you've got Mojo, Vulcan 7, Land Voice, there's RedX, there's tons of places that you can hire to get a list of for sale owners. Me, two things, always play red light, green light. If you financially have the money to spend, do it. If you don't, just make sure that you set aside the time to pull those numbers, because you can also go on Zillow. There's a list of for sale owners on Zillow. You can type in for sale by owners in your area in Google, and there will be FSBO, for sale by owner. There's going to be all these different types of places that you can get them on the internet, because they're advertising and their phone numbers there. And then you want to, or when you're driving around, right? You're driving around, you see a for sale owner. I'm going to suggest unless you're just on your way to an appointment, don't drive by and go, I'll call them later. Stop. Call them right there from the car, or go knock in right there, because if we're 90% of the time that we say we're going to do something later, we don't do that later, right? Like, no. If you're anything like me, like I'm searching Pinterest and I'm looking at all of the exercises I can do for my glutes, and I'm pinning them. Okay, there's not that many that I couldn't just do some exercises, right? So the same thing with for sale owners. So now what we're going to do is where we're going to go ahead and log in. This is recorded. I will, if anybody wants the recording, I will share it. And if you go to and I'm going to share my screen so you guys can go to this. Now, this is a book, and many of you are going to be familiar with it. Especially if you're with Keller Williams for any given amount of time. If you aren't with KW, let me know. We can send these to you. And yet, this is we can find these on KW Connect. So when you go to KW Connect, and let me walk you through that. I'll share that with you as well, just in case, because a lot of times we just don't know what all we have that's on offer. Ignore all of the tabs that I have open. There's a lot. Okay, you log into kw.com, right? You go to kw.com, you're gonna go to the bottom, you're gonna log in my KW, put your username and password. It's gonna take you to the main page. You're gonna click on, in the main page, you're gonna click on education. That's gonna take you to KW Connect. There's other ways to get to KW Connect. That's just the one I use. When you get to KW Connect, let me go back to the main page of KW Connect. You're going to see a page that looks like this. You're going to go to that's not where you're going to go.
Olivia, I can only see your FSBO script.
Do what?
I said I can only see your FSBO script. Are we supposed to be looking at something different?
Oh yeah, no, different. Thank you for that. Nope, it didn't flip to the next share. Thank you. Let's do this again and see what happens. Okay, now you can see my FSBO script. Can you see my screen now that's the KW? Yep, okay, perfect. All right, so we're gonna come down here. We're gonna log into my KW account. Click on the education tab. And you should have a page that looks like this. Click on courses. And first off, look through all these courses because they're amazing. And the one that we're looking for is KW Scripts. There's a catalog for volume 1 for working with buyers, working with sellers, and a lead generation one. The lead generation one is the one that we're going to utilize today. And then we're going to come back with time permitting, and we're going to look at working with the sellers as well. You'll get a feel though of how detailed these are based on what you see in the volume 3 scripts. So you click on it. Well, here, let's go ahead and do that. So you're going to click on that. You're going to go over to materials, and you are going to download. Just double click on that. It'll open up, and now you'll have it. You can download that onto your computer. Is anybody not tracking with me? Do I need to go back through anything? You sure? It's really okay. It just depends on how familiar you are with the system is how. So if you are, just, make a note, and I can always come back to do this later. But when you double click on that, it's going to open up a file. You're going to download that file. This is going to look like, you're going to get this script book, okay? Now, when you open up that file, you have the opportunity to open up to get a front cover and all this. I don't care about any of that. I want the manual. So click on the manual. You'll download it. You don't need it for today for our call. I just wanted you to know where you could find it. So you're not, having to wait for me to get it to you. You just know where to find it. So in this book, we're going to scroll down to page 71, and it's titled FSBOs. And you're going to see everything from driving by for sale by owner. And again, there's multiple scripts here. You're going to review them, and you're going to say, best case, like for me right now, if I've never done it, which one do I like the best? If you've done it before, you're going to say, okay, I'm going to use this other one, whatever. Don't attempt to learn all of these and yet read through all of them. So we want to create urgency for the for sale by owner seller. So, hey, my name is Alivia Roberts with Keller Williams. I am going to recommend something here. Instead of saying Keller Williams, I'm going to suggest a local real estate company. That way, if they've ever had, you're just preempting if they've ever had any thought about, a certain company or anything. So, hey, my name is Alivia Roberts with Keller Williams Realty, or a local real estate agent. I was driving by, I noticed the sign in your yard, and I was simply wondering what you're going to do after you sell your home. Will you be staying in the area or leaving town? Well, moving. Where to? When do you need to be there? Now, this is the kicker, and this is why scripts and dialogues matter. It sounds like we're going somewhere here, and yet this line, as we're finding out more about them, this line is the important piece. When do you need to be there? We need to be there by so-and-so. Are you working with an agent? Yes. Most people moving into an area are typically working with an agent, right? How many for sale by owners did you view? With for sale by owners, we have to make sure that they are, think of for sale by owners are as do-it-yourselfers. They probably put in their own deck. They probably, painted their own house, their own house or rooms of the house. We want to make sure that we are showing them that there is a problem without telling them there is a problem. Nobody likes to be told that what they're doing isn't right. All you're going to be doing is creating resistance instead of inviting them in, right? So two things I will say when you're working with for sale owners: make certain that you're never coming from a position of you're an idiot. Why would you sell your house for sale owner? We might not say it, but does our attitude say it? How we're saying it, right? That matters. So this is the cool question. So how many for sale owners did you view? Most often the answer is going to be none. Well, how come? Well, we were on town a few days, we didn't have time to. Wow. So how many buyers in whatever area do you think are relocation buyers similar to yourself? So how many buyers in the Birmingham area do you think are relocation buyers similar to yourself? Well, I don't know. Statistics say 47% of buyers in our area are relocation buyers. Can you afford to miss 47% of buyers in this area? Right? Now, you're going to use whatever your statistics are for this, right? And to get those statistics, if you don't have them in your office, you could probably connect with the Chamber of Commerce, talk with your team leader. There is somebody that can get you those statistics, right? How many agents have shown your property? How many ever? Yeah, I think it's safe to say that for every agent who shows your home, 10 don't. Can you afford to miss 90% of the agent represented buyers in this area? What would you do if your home doesn't sell in 60 days? Do you have a plan B? Now, you'll make adjustments. Keep in mind that this is just think of scripts as a kickoff, a starting point. You can make adjustments because let's say that your market for sale by owners are moving really fast. You probably wouldn't say, you might say 60 days or you might change that, right? Do you have a plan B? So what did we just demonstrate through that script? Who will unmute and share?
That there might be a problem with the process.
That's right. And it's all in our tonality and what are we doing? And we're creating a little urgency. Then you've got, have you prepared a seller's disclosure? How many for sale owners even know what that is? Some do, some don't. If they say yes, great. I hope you have a great success in the sale of your house. If there's anything I may help you with, please don't hesitate to call, and you hand them your business card. Depending on the relationship, you might go ahead and ask them right then, I'd love to keep following up with you. Would that be okay? Right? And we're going to talk about a system in a bit, but I wanted to just review some of these scripts because they're here and I think we just forget about them. Presenting your business card, script number 1. Hey, my name's Alivia, with a local real estate agent. I was driving by and I noticed the sign in your yard and I wanted to stop by, introduce myself, and give you a card. And let you know that if you ever need anything, it would be my pleasure to help you. Thank you and have a great day. When they put that sign up as a for sale by owner, basically they've entered their real estate agent. Now, we're saying that loosely. If there was another agent in your town that, if their sign fell down, I know I'm out running, I see a sign fell down, I don't have a hammer, I can't do anything about it, I'll call that agent or I'll text them and say, hey, over here on Highway 34, your sign's down, I don't have a way to put it up, or I would do it for you real quick. Think about them as the same. How can we just come from a position of being helpful and yet have the dialogue that we're helping them understand that they might have a problem. Another option for presenting your business card. Are you spending most of your time talking with buyers or agents? Depends on your area. Since we agree you should be spending your time with buyers, Tell the agents to contact me for information on your home. Let me leave you with some cards. Give one to any agent who wants information on your home. Let me take that off of your hands. If they say yes and they start doing that, what did I just do to the competition?
Kind of eliminated the competition.
Yes, absolutely. Because the thing is, if I'm calling for sale by owner and they go, oh, well, I'm going to list with Sylvia, or you can call Sylvia, she has all that information. Odds are I'm going to go, oh, and I'm thinking she's going to use Sylvia, so I'm not going to keep calling. So this is a great technique for you to help eliminate the other agents, right?
Quick question.
Okay.
If I can. If you were to use that script, do you use it after certain time? So how many times do you have to reach out to that for sale by owner until you actually use that script?
So it's going to depend. I know that's not a very scientific answer. It depends on how our relationship is. And sometimes I'm going to do, if you think back to the behavioral assessments, somebody that's like a high D, very driven, they might actually be, I might do that on the first appointment, because they might literally, or think of it this way, somebody that's like, oh, it's just agents, right? I would probably do it right then. Go, agents, I get it. You know what? You and I agree. You should be spending your time with buyers, right? You know what? Here's some cards. You tell them to call me. I'll take that off of your hand. Right? So you could do that just immediately. And if you notice, that's how you take that from being a script to actually being a dialogue, something that they're not going to go, well, that sounded weird. They're going to be like, oh, wow. Now, and then at the end, Sylvia, we are going to go, okay, this is a process you can follow, and y'all might edit it, and I'm going to give you like an 8-week, this is a quick process. Okay, educating for sale owners about seller disclosures. Again, hey, my name's Alivia Roberts, local real estate agent. I was driving by, noticed the sign in your yard, and I was simply wondering if you had seller disclosures. What's that? It's basically a statement that discloses your home's current condition. Louisiana law requires that you supply a copy to each potential buyer. Hand them a copy if they don't have one. Would you be offended if I added your home to my for sale by owner inventory list? The reason that and that word offended matters, because listen to when they respond to that. Would you be offended if I added your home to my for sale by owner inventory list? No, I wouldn't be offended, which they just said, yes, you can add my house. Right? They were answering one question, but it actually gave you something else. So, and yet they also might, well, what's that? Well, the way I prefer to work with buyers is to have them come into the office. We go through our buyer process. In other words, I help them uncover exactly what it is they need in their next home so that together we can develop criteria for their perfect home. First, I take criteria and I match it to the homes in multiple listing service. If I don't find a home in the multiple listing service that matches their criteria, I then search my for sale by owner inventory list. Does that make sense? Now, something you might add here, two things. Number one, don't say MLS, say multiple listing system or multiple listing service. Number two is you might even say, first, I take criteria and I match it to the secured homes in the MLS or in the multiple listing service. If I don't find a home in the multiple listing service that matches their criteria, I then will go to a non-secured for sale by owner inventory list. Now, the reason those two particular words is because someone could say, what do you mean secured? Oh, well, in the multiple listing service, as an agent, I already know that that seller has said, I will pay an agent. I'm not expecting anybody to work for free. When I go to the the for sale by owners, and that's why, Mr. Seller, that's why sometimes agents don't go to for sale by owners, because they think that you might not pay them, and so they don't want to work with somebody that's unsecured. Make sense? And they're going to say, makes sense. Now, again, I'm showing them that there's a hole possibly in their process. For sale by owner. Okay, so yes. So you see, I'm not like most agents who will just throw a buyer into the car and show them 50 homes, hoping we stumble upon the perfect one. If they choose to work with me, we're going to take a proactive approach that virtually assures them of getting what they want and wanting what they get, thus assuring us a win-win relationship. I also have a similar process for sellers. So again, it's that dialogue of I'm a professional, I have a plan, I have a, right? Now I'm not going to go through each one of these, and yet you'll see, right? Maybe you're like, I don't like that one about explaining for seller disclosure. Well, then go to script 2, read that one, see if that one lands with you. You might even merge some of these, right? Like that's okay, but you have the verbiage that's going to be very strong and help you articulate what it is that you actually want to say. I say I won't go through it. I am going to go through this because I want to point this out. So I'm driving by, notice the sign, wondering if you had a seller's disclosure. Same part, right? Great. If you do you mind if I ask what's important to you about selling the home yourself? Most of them is going to say saving money. Some of them might say it's an agent thing or whatnot. The great piece is there have been some of us that work for sub owners that they said, well, I just didn't know what else to do. Ha! I'm your solution, right? That doesn't happen all the time, yet you have to make the ask. Have you had previous experience with agents? Yeah, we didn't love it. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Wow, that just validates everything that's wrong in our profession. You see, there's a definite difference between agents and real estate consultants. May I explain? In today's industry, 5% of professionals are what I call consultants and 95% are what I call agents. Since 95% of the industry are just agents, chances are you're going to come in and you're going to come in contact with agents. You know you're dealing with an agent because they'll come in and assume they know what it is you need in the sale of your home without even asking you. They will assume you need the most amount of money in the shortest amount of time with the fewest hassles. And then they'll start telling you how they can satisfy those assumed needs. Compare that to a real estate consultant, and you're going to anchor it, right, by pointing to you. Compare that to a real estate consultant who does not assume anything. Consultant will ask you questions and then listen to what it is you're needing in the sale of your home. Once they hear what your needs are, then and only then, they will make a determination on whether they can satisfy those needs, and in doing so, create a win-win relationship. Do you think someone like that could benefit you? Well, not right now. That's okay. I'm getting closer, right, to a yes. I wish you great success in the sale of your home. Is there anything I can do for you? Please don't hesitate to give me a call, and you're giving them a card, right? So this is all we're talking about. It's just that very first appointment, right? Our very first face-to-face type thing. We're going to talk a little bit about doing it on the phone versus knocking. I will say this, make certain, however you get phone numbers, that they're not on the do not call list. If you, now with for sale owners, different people will tell you different things. I can't speak to your area. Get with your team leader, ask them, for sale owners, their information's out there. What is in our market center? What is our relationship? How do we make sure that we're legit in calling them if we're going to call and we don't get ourselves into trouble with the do not call list, right? Okay, so Sylvia, I had shared this one with you this week around just just getting out of your car and knocking the door. Park on the wrong side of the street, open the door toward the house, open your door toward the house, leave the car running. You're not taking listing, you're not going to do door knocking in areas that aren't like you want to pick your price point, right? So leave the car running, leave the door open, take a business card with you. You knock on the door, take 3 steps back so you're not in their space. When they come to the door, hey, I'm Alivia Roberts, local real estate agent. I was actually driving by on the way to another appointment. Just, but wow, I noticed like you've got an amazing yard, whatever. I would love to take a few minutes to see your home. It's not uncommon that when I'm showing in the neighborhood to have a buyer, they'll ask me about other properties that are for sale. I make every effort to have all the information available for them. What time would work best for you? Now, if they want to go ahead and let you in the house, I'm going to suggest, because you told them you had an appointment, so now's not a good time, you're going to go, well, I'm actually on the way. Could I, when could I, right? Like, and then let's say they said, well, I can show you my house tomorrow at 5. Now I've got an appointment, but I'm not interested in having you sell it. I understand. I want to see your house because the real estate consultant in the area. I often have buyers who ask me questions about homes like yours. They say, okay, could I get the correct spelling of your name and telephone number where you can be reached in case I should have to cancel? You've got their information. Here's my business card in case you need to reach me. See you tomorrow at so-and-so time, right? Now, I do want to take a pause here and explain that when you go back in this scenario, you are not doing a listing appointment. That's sometimes where we miss them. Like we told them let's abide by what we're saying. And then when you're in that appointment, we're going to do what we would almost call a problem presentation. So remember at the beginning when we used that script and we kind of showed them by asking, oh, well, you're missing all the buyers. Well, we're going to go into a problem presentation. We're going to be asking about their motivation as we're walking through the house. And from there, if the opportunity presents, we would actually set an appointment for a listing appointment. Or if they started asking a lot of questions, this is where we go, you know, I would love to answer all of those. It sounds like you have some interest in working with a professional such as myself. Should we go ahead and do a formal appointment and me show you what we can do to get your house sold? If they say yes, then you're doing a listing presentation or you're setting the appointment for later, because you also want to make sure if they go, yeah, yes, I would love to do that. That's going to take us about 30 minutes. Do you have 30 minutes right now, or should I make the appointment for later? Is there another decision maker? Oh, well, yeah, my husband or my wife, they really, you know, they're going to make the decision. Okay, great. Since they're not here, let's go ahead and set the appointment for, right? Because it doesn't matter how great you are. That one person you're in front of could be like, wow, I love Alivia. Like, I'd pay you 10%. Like, you're the best. They then have that conversation with them and they go, oh, I mean, you know, there's a girl at work that has her license. She'd do it for 1%, you know, whatever. And now you've lost the ability to have that conversation. So always make sure that you're bringing them back in. Okay. So again, now there's an introduction script. I'm going to ask you to go through all of these scripts to find the ones that actually suit you. Gathering market information in the neighborhood. This is a good one. Hey, my name is Alivia. I'm a local real estate agent. Your home is in our service area. And while I'm in the neighborhood, I was wondering if you would be offended if I took just a quick look at your house to familiarize myself with everything on the market. Wipe your feet and prep. Like, these are little things that we might not think make a difference, and yet they're in here because they're tried and true methods. Well, we're not working with agents. I understand. If I have a family that I can't find the right home for, would you mind if I sent them directly to you? Well, why would you do that? If I send you someone I can't serve who might be interested in your home, then maybe you would give me the opportunity to serve those families not interested in your home. That makes sense, doesn't it? So what did I just set up to happen right there?
Sending you buyer leads.
Yeah, sending me buyer leads. Again, while wiping your feet, fine. Then I could have the, if I could have the courtesy of taking a quick look at your house. Again, my name's Alivia Roberts. Wait for them to respond. If you have just a minute to show me your home so I won't miss any special points of interest that I can pass on to my potential client, I would appreciate it. In order to help you as we go through the home, I will ask you some of the questions that buyers would ask before deciding to buy. So you're going to engage them in property, condition, build rapport, threads of interest. Think back to Ford, right? You guys just went through bold: family, occupation, recreation, dreams. Offer them a free, no obligation market analysis. Now, and then send them a thank you note afterwards. I will say this around market analysis. This is personal, not a huge fan. The reason is they can then take your price, which costs something, right? We have the knowledge, we're paying to be in the MLS, and then list with another agent, or they could. So you might decide to offer them something else, not the price, because now you're potentially doing a lot of work for free. Or you could go, you know what? I don't have any listings right now. I'm going to spend the time doing it because it'll make me better in pulling conditions, and I'll keep tweaking it. Either way is fine, right? You can supply them with marketing literature. So there's some scripts for that. Now, what we were talking about right there is knocking on their door. Now, some of us, depending on our area and COVID, you know, some of you may have been like, oh, I'm not knocking on anybody's door. Keep in mind that if you're knocking on someone's door right now, in most areas, I'm going to say you're going to be fine with that, because you're going to knock, you're going to step back. If you feel uncomfortable doing it, then call them, right? Because we talked about where you could get phone numbers. So when we call them, and that's this piece, again, we're looking to build rapport and trust, right? And so we're going to offer a unique service. So if you would like, with a few phone calls, I can get us an appointment to see every home you are competing against in your market. It may answer some of your questions, right? So you could offer to show them the houses that they're competing against. Another unique service. Hey, this is Alivia Roberts, local real estate agent. I have a client under a buyer representation agreement who has seen your house while driving by and asked me to call about it. If that's true, I would say, I know that some agents use that and they don't really have the buyer. They're going to read through that, and it's not, I think it's out of integrity. That's just me personally. So if that's true, I think you could also say, like if they haven't, but it might suit, then you could say, you know, I have clients that are looking in the area. I don't know that your house would be the right one, and yet I'd like to know about all the inventory. Could I come by and check it out, right? Again, when you go there, not a listing appointment, that's going to be about continuing to build relationships. So again, there's some unique ones. There's a lot of them. Don't attempt to learn all of them. Pick the one or two that resonates with you, that you are going to actually use, right? Okay, so again, these are some great ones. I'm going to keep going. Okay, this is when we talk about the problem presentation. So you're walking through the house, and because they've let you in, you're going to have some type of a clipboard. Maybe you're writing on an iPad, a yellow sheet, something to take notes, right? And you're going to have an opportunity to ask them and explain to them the 4 types of buyers. This, again, this is where we're creating, we want them to see that they have a problem and we're the solution. We don't want to tell them they have a problem. We want them to self-discover it. So you're walking through the house, you're asking about their motive, you know, hey, where will you guys be going? How soon would you like to sell? You decided to sell it on your own, and they go, whatever. And you just you're asking questions, and you're walking through the house. And then you would say, John, Amanda, whoever, right? Has anyone explained the 4 types of buyers? And some of you've never heard this, right? So they're going to say no. And you're going to say, well, I'd love to explain that. And they're going to say, okay, well, you know, Mr. and Ms. sub owner, there are 4 types of buyers in the marketplace. There's that relocation buyer. This is the #1 buyer that we go after and target as agents. And that buyer is rock solid, right? They're coming in to buy a home. They know they're only going to be here for a limited amount of time. So they want to see as many homes as they can. The buyer is very qualified to buy, and they don't want to spend the time looking in the newspapers, driving around, right? They don't have time. They want a professional to go in, pull up the homes, show them as many as possible. So that buyer's not generally going to call you if you're a for sale by owner, because they're not going to have time to shop that hard, right? Now you'll notice here it says the newspaper. I just said shop that hard, right? You can make it up to date, right? They're just not going to have time to go through all the different websites and find all the for sale owners. And so that buyer calls and says, okay, and then they don't have time to do that. The second type of buyer out there, and the second type of buyer out there is also a good type of buyer, and that's the needs buyer. That buyer calls and says, hey, we need a bigger home, we need a house with a pool or something like that. And they will usually call an agent. Now, every now and then they may look in a newspaper, they may look online, but primarily they're going to call an agent because they're going to say, we need this specifically, right? And they usually don't want to just have to go out and find it themselves because they have a need and they want to do now. So we can easily go into the multiple listing service, pull up their criteria, and then you've got the third type of buyer that's going to call. And this type of buyer will typically call you, the for sale by owner, they're a discount buyer. They usually don't want a professional involved like an agent that knows the value of the property. Their job is to go out and try to buy the house as cheap as they can in hopes that they can go through you, the seller, and try to shrewdly get the best deal they can on that house. And your hope is that they're not as knowledgeable, right? And then lastly, the fourth type of buyer is the unqualified buyer. That buyer doesn't really have a chance to buy a house. That buyer may call us first, and then we always have a lender that will get buyers pre-qualified free of charge. And once that lender tells us this buyer can't buy a home, heck, and then this is me, can't even buy a stick of bubble gum on credit, right? We let them know, sorry, we can't help you. Well, then they go after you, the for sale by owner, because you don't have a mechanism to get them pre-qualified. So you end up getting into some type of long-term contract with them, and at the very end find out that they couldn't buy the house anyway. I've even seen it where they've moved into a house prior to closing, and now you got to try to get them out. It just becomes a legal nightmare. So you can see that of the four types of buyers, the last two are the ones that you're getting versus the first two that we as an agent could bring you. It puts you in a much lower stance of getting your house sold. You're just giving them information, right? And you're going to keep walking through, right? If I could show you how working with me could actually net you more money, would you spend 30 minutes with me this evening? So that's just a very direct one. So again, these are just, how do I ask for the appointment? Just ask, right? So you can go through those and pick. So again, lots of just asking for the appointment. So again, asking for the appointment, asking for the appointment. There's 9 different ways you can ask. You can offer the owner access to your buyer pool. Hey, this is Alivia Roberts, a local real estate agent, and I'm calling in reference to your home for sale. I understand you're selling that yourself. The reason I'm calling is to find out if we had a buyer that was interested in your home, would you accept an offer through our office? What does that mean? Well, if we had a buyer that was interested in your home that was willing to pay a price that was acceptable to you, we would generally get a fee of 3% for doing so, for bringing you the buyer at closing. How does that sound? Does that work for you? Now, because this is the big thing with for sale by owners, a lot of them do typically end up listing. If they don't know you, then they can't list with you. So it's all about making sure that they know you, and yet you're planting those seeds. And it's not, because the other thing that we've got to be careful of is that it's not just about becoming their best friend. Because if we don't plant a hole, if they can't see that there's a problem, you're just a nice guy or a nice lady. There's no call to action type thing, right? Now, these takes you through previewing homes, alerting the for sale owner to open houses in the area. And then I always have this question, and I know I've just been, I feel like talking at you for the last little bit. I'm going to share this and then I want to pause. And one of the reasons that I do this in a call like this and actually review the scripts is because so often I've sent these to agents and said, read it, and we don't read it. Or we read it and we don't actually say it out loud, so we just get icky about it and go, well, that doesn't sound like me. Well, first off, it may not need to sound like you. Right? I mean, you may not be great at this yet. So learn it. I think about the time where I decided I wanted to learn to play golf. And I'm a former softball player. So he had me play golf, and everything that he wanted me to do on holding that golf club felt weird, and everything in my body wanted to say, that doesn't feel like me. And guess what? Feeling like me with a softball stance would have never been able to hit that ball very well. Doing the way that he did it, I was able to hit it very well in that setting, right? In that session. So we always, should I leave a voicemail or not leave a voicemail? It depends. There are some voicemail scripts here that, right? So this is, I will say this too, and I will make a couple of adjustments. So according to some of the research, we have 10 seconds, 5 seconds to actually get somebody to listen to a voicemail. So I'm going to suggest that you put your name and stuff at the end, not at the beginning. So, because we don't want them to go, you know, hey, I'm calling in reference to your home for sale. I understand that you're selling it yourself. I'm not calling to list it. However, I'm calling to find out if we had a buyer who was interested, would you accept an offer through our office? Please give me a call back at this number. It's Alivia Roberts, local real estate agent, right? So you're at the end. The first few seconds, you've got to grab their attention. Same thing, voicemail 2. I would put that on the end. Hey, I noticed that you've been advertising your home for sale. I'm calling to find out if you do plan to list with an agent at some point. I'm the #1 real estate agent in blah, blah. I'd love to offer you the opportunity to become part of our marketing system to get your house sold. I don't love it, but if it resonates with you, use it. You can also write your own voicemails. So maybe you said, hey, I saw that you have your house for sale by owner. I'm actually calling because I just got the house across the street sold. And if you're looking for that type of result, or you just have questions, I want to let you know I'm here for you. I love helping the community. It's Alivia Roberts, Keller Williams. Give me a call at this number, right? So, but be ready on that voicemail, because again, you have this much time to catch their attention. Okay. So there's some additional voicemail scripts. Okay, now I'm going to pause because we're about to transition into actually touring of the home. So what are you getting so far? Have you, did you get the thing that you wrote down, or are you still waiting for that piece? Let me hear back from you guys.
I have a question. So I was trying to work with the for sale by owner, and it was yes, I'll pay you the 3% if we go into contract. But he took the paperwork to a lawyer to review, and then the lawyer says, I have comments on your contract, but just to let you know, nobody's paying you a fee. And so, have you had experience with that, and how did you handle it?
Yeah, so you want to get them to sign that before you show the house. So if I called and asked that question, would you be interested, Okay, awesome. I'm going to go ahead and send you a piece, I'm going to send you a piece of paper that just says that says, if we bring the buyer and we get an agreed contract, right, it's the price that you would pay this much. And so get him to sign that before you or him or her, before you show the property.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, so I've read through a lot of these scripts over the years, and I had abandoned them a long time ago. And it's like many things, I think, that when you go back and look at them and go, damn, that was good.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about these scripts is it gives you conversations. Because like we've taken Jackie Kravitz's class a couple of times.
She's
right?
amazing.
And she is, and it's very much my style, like, go in, get it done, no point in beating around the bush. If you don't set an appointment with me first time, I may or may not call you back. It just depends on how busy I am. And I know the magic's in the follow-up. So this is great, because that was actually the thing that I wrote down was to consistently follow up with the FSBOs, because that's not a consistent task for me. I'm always on to the next one. Yeah. So this is real helpful, I think, with the fact that, conversation, the problem conversation from Bold and everything else. And this is great because I haven't read these in quite some time.
Yeah. Well, and that's the great part of it is it's just so natural for us to not go back to these, because we're like, well, I got that. I know. Well, yeah, but there's some gold in there. And we're going to talk in a bit about that follow-up piece to say, how do we ensure that we follow up? Because you're right, with for sale by owners, it's expired. Personally, it's a get in, get it done. Like they're going to list or not. For sale by owners, a lot of times it's that, and we run out of things to say that are of value, and then so we don't call. Like one of the things that I notice with myself and in coaching agents throughout the years is if we don't know what to say, we just don't call. Instead of going, okay, somebody's figured out what to say. Like, I don't know what to say this time. Let me go back and what could I use as the second touch, right? So I love that. Thank you, Paul. Anybody else wanted to add anything or ask a question right here?
My experience with for sale by owners is just getting a lot of like I have a lot of rapport building conversations where we're very friendly and I can get someone to talk to me for 30 minutes, but I don't feel like we're getting any closer to a listing appointment. And while I do follow up with some of the better conversations I have, the vast majority of them, I don't have enough things of value to provide them that would make them more interested in moving closer to that listing appointment. You know, my coach, she told me that it takes about 5 weeks to win over a FSBO in our area. So we have a bit of a longer rapport building period here in the, you know, East Coast.
Well, and keep in mind that sometimes we get stuck in rapport building. Because like I was going to say something that's not necessarily not appropriate for here. We get stuck in the rapport building, and so they just think that we're really nice, but we did not show them that we were going to solve a problem. And so that's going to be the biggest piece, is every time that you're talking to them. And if you're not, now I will say you've got to be careful, like what is your state rule around this, but are you recording your conversations so that like, and there's an app, it's like $10 a year. It's called Tape a Call, TAPEACALL. You can download it on your phone. When you call people, you hit merge. It's all recorded, again, depending on the laws in your state. Because if you go back and review those, that's us reviewing game film, and you're going to go, oh, they gave me an opening right there. Oh, right. And then we realize, because when we're building rapport, and we want to, I want you, like, that's perfect, Rose. You want to build rapport, and we want to make sure that if they're asking us questions, don't answer them. They ask us a question, you know what, that's a great question. It's going to, you know, to give you the information that you need, it's going to take a little bit more than what we have on the phone today. But I'd be happy to swing by tomorrow and answer that and any other questions you have. So we're going back to that appointment. So that's the big piece. And the cool part with some of these tips and bringing some of this back in, if the average agent, or it's 5 weeks for sub owner, that means there's an average in there. Let's figure out how to get it for you in the first week or two.
Right.
That would be a big opportunity. All right, perfect. Now, touring the for sale owner home. Same scenario that you're going to run into is we tend to go through, and we're going through in the vision of, we want to tell them everything and we want to be super nice. You got to ask yourself, what is the point? Why am I here? And again, in this scenario, what we're talking about is you aren't on a listing appointment yet. This is a preview. If you've decided to do it this way, right? So we're talking about you're not on the appointment yet. We want to build rapport, yes, and we still want to show them that there are some holes in what they know, again, and that we're the solution. So make sure you're not all building rapport. You want to make sure you're asking questions. That's also where we show them that we're different from other people and we are the professional. So why did you decide to sell the home? Now, I love this because you do the terrific. Where will you be moving to? This is something I want you guys to keep in mind. That's a word filler. You want to find out if it's terrific before you use it. Why did you decide your house? We're transferring to Minneapolis. Is this a good thing for you guys? Oh yeah, I'm so excited. Terrific. And if they say, I mean, we really love it here. Oh, I mean, we're going to hate to see you go, right? So make sure that you're paying attention to the words and what you're going to use. That's, so how soon do you need to be there? How long have you owned the home? How did you determine your sales price? How are you marketing your home? Are you prepared to adjust your price down when working with a buyer? Whatever. So you're asking those questions. When you're almost done with the tour, find out why the homeowner has decided to sell by owner. Again, you're doing it in such a manner that you want it to be conversational. You don't want to, like, you're walking to the house and now you're in the bathroom and you can go into these. You don't want to go, okay, let's go sit at the living room table, because now they're going, well, right. So it's very natural. Maybe, well, how did you happen to price the home? They've already answered that. Are you sure that other homes are going to sell for that price? What, by the way, when you get an offer, how are you going to know before you sign your name on the dotted line that commits you to sell your home that person can afford to buy your home? Some of them have sold before. They're going to go ask for pre-qual. Some of them don't know, right? And now you've got an objection to this. This one actually goes straight into like that. Well, I don't know. How would we do that? Well, exactly. You could take them to court. You get an attorney. Does happen to people. You know, I'm not trying to use a scare tactic. There's a reason that from, you know, again, so these were in 2001, right? So you're going to have to make the statistics right? But from 1981 to whatever, the percentage of people who sold their home on their own has actually reduced. And a third of those people who did, they say that they would never do it again. I mean, there's a reason for that. It can be a lot of hassle, and you can get yourself in illegal situations that you didn't predict. You know what I'm saying? And one of the things I want to do is help you not get into those situations. So if somebody comes to you, they make an offer, and you'd like me to step in and represent your interest in negotiating the final contract and making sure they're qualified, you know, I could do it. There would be a fee. It could be a lesser fee, you know, if I were, you know, than if I were doing everything. In fact, I have a program you might be interested in. Right now, you talk about that. Maybe you only charge 4% or 3%, right? And it's not so, it's basically, look, I'm coming from contribution, right? And yet we want to tell them a price, because if we don't, what happens is they're going, oh, that's awesome. They call you up and they offer you to do it for $100. That don't work for nobody, right? But again, going in and deciding, but what you did, instead of just building rapport, you showed them a hole, and you showed them that you're the person's opportunity to fix that. Discussing possible house modifications. And I love this, because if you're somebody that is naturally maybe a writer or eloquent with their words, you may not need this as much. And I get stuck. Like if I'm not careful, I'm like, oh, wow, that's a pretty kitchen. Okay. Wow, this is a beautiful kitchen. I can see that you put a lot of money and work into it. It's, you know, tons of potential. You know, what I'd like to ask a couple questions, if that's okay. If I were a buyer and you were looking at your home, what are the changes you would make if you purchased this home? Blah, blah, blah. If you weren't going to sell it, if you were going to stay here, what would be the changes that you would make in the next 6 to 12 months? So again, it's are we asking good questions? Okay. Now at the end, and I love this, because again, we've toured the house, we've done that, you know, we've created some rapport. I appreciate the opportunity to get together with you. It's always a privilege and an honor to get to meet with somebody, to look at the possibilities of working with me or whatever, right? What I'd like to do is this: if you would take a few minutes, walk me through the property, like this is the beginning, point things out that I may not notice, improvements that you've made since you've owned it. Also, I'd like you to point out the things in your home that you personally like, things that could possibly cause you to purchase it. Because what we generally find is the next buyer of your home will probably purchase it for the same reasons you did, okay? So again, I'm not going to go through, I went through a lot of these, and yet you get the gist of it. And I also want to point out that there's follow-up with for sale by owner. So Paul, you were like, you know, sometimes, and it is, we all fall that trap. I call the first time, hey George, Alivia Roberts, I'm checking in to see how things are going with your marketing. This is a courtesy call. Have you had any calls on the property? What's the activity been like? What kind of marketing have you been doing? Have you gotten any offers? That's great. Where did it come in at? How do you feel about that? Right? You're looking for a window of opportunity. Yeah, generally speaking, when activity's been slow on a property, hasn't moved, we find that it's one of 3 reasons: marketing, presentation, or condition, maybe price. The way for us to find out which one of those is for us to get together and look at a detailed market analysis to see what the market's doing. I'd love to come and sit with you at no cost, no obligation, to get through a market analysis. That will give you a pretty idea of what the market's doing, and that might give you a better idea of why you haven't had more activity, right? So again, showing results. If they say, well, I've had some showings, have you had any offers? Again, you've got to show them that there is a hole, because sometimes they'll say, we've had 20 people come through. Oh, how many offers? None. Oh, now you have an opportunity to go back and show them why that's a problem, right? Check in with phone. If I could get you top dollar in the next 30 days, would you list your house? Great, let's set an appointment. So you've got a lot of things. They even talk about dropping off for sale by owner packets, right? You could create one. It tells you what to put in there. I thought it'd be helpful if I dropped this off, okay? This part is going to be super important, the objections. they're not going to give you, and for those of you who have been in Bold before, especially the Classic and the one that we did, the 2.0, we gave you objections to hiring an agent. There's not a whole lot of them, so you don't have to know them all. You just need to know one for each. I want to sell it myself. How come? What is that? You've got different examples here. There's 5 of them. Don't pick all 5. Pick the one that you want to use, right? Well, there's 6 of them. 9 of them, 10 of them, right? Like they just keep coming. Pick the one that makes the most sense for you or the easiest to internalize. I don't want to sign an agreement. Well, this is what, right? So again, I'm going to stop here because I think that you're probably getting tired of me talking at you because they're all here. Thank you, Donna, for that. They're all here, but you have to now do the work of going through, and it's completely okay to use this as a base to kind of write your own. I will say, though, is use this as a base to write your own and actually write it down. Read it, internalize it so that we're not always winging it, because we think that we're saying the same thing every time and that we're really landing with what's important. That's like a basketball player who's great at playing basketball and he's not practicing, you know, his free throw every day. It gets weaker and weaker, right? So make sure you have it written down so you can go back and reread it. Okay, so you've got all of those pieces. Now, what I'm going to do now, so again, your homework today, right? Because we want to do something within 24 hours. Actually go knock on a for sale by owner's door or call one, at least that, right? And then go back through, read through all these. I'm going to suggest print it out or send it to Office Depot and print it, and they'll, you know, use your KW discount card. So it's like a front and back, black and white copies. It's like a, you know, 2 cents a page. Download it to your computer or something. Go through it, X out the ones you don't want to use. Highlight the ones that you're going to use, and then those are the ones. And the one thing that I would suggest is take those scripts and put them somewhere so every day you read through them. Just read through them. Maybe record them on your phone, and when you're driving, you're listening to your voice do it. You want, because then it's going to become so much easier. Like you're going to start talking to somebody, you're going to say it, and you're like, "What? That just came out of my mouth." Okay, so even relative as a real estate agent, you've got scripts for that. The other cool part is when you're calling for sale by owners, if you have these printed out and in front of you, keep in mind, they don't know. If you know it well enough, they don't know that you're reading it. So you flip, they said a relative, you've got, you know, you want to use script 5, you've got that highlighted in front of you, flip to that page and you go, interesting. I think it's great you'd want to use your brother-in-law, and he could probably do a lot. It might be best if we met for a few minutes. See, we could actually take a look at your house, discuss potential pricings, home staging, some of the things, boom, 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 right? So I just flip to it and use it. We just want to know it well enough that we can not go, as a for sale by owner, there are only 3 possible outcomes, right? If you do it the other way, they just think it's natural. So again, if they had bad experiences, you just can flip to it and go. All right. So you guys know where to find it. You know the follow-up. Now, once you've followed up with these and you've met them, you've had the conversation, you've maybe done the walkthrough, and now you're following up. So John Prescott was my first Bold coach, and I went to Bold with him like 7 times, I think. One of the things that he shared with me, and I loved it, it's super easy. When you're following up, because you've already created rapport, you've already, you know, offered them something of value, a follow-up, you have them here, and then let's say it's week 3 or week 4 or week 5 or week 6. At some point, you can call and you could say, like if I was calling, I'd say, "Hey, Sylvia, Alivia Roberts, your local real estate agent. How are you guys doing today?" "Doing well." "Have you had the great fortune of selling your house yet?" "Not yet." "Have you decided to hire a great agent like myself in order to help you get that thing sold?" "No, not yet." "Perfect. You still have my information?" "Yep. If you need anything, you'll call me, right?" "Yep." "Okay, great. Have a great day." And I'm out, right? It doesn't have to be and that could be week after week, right? After you've built that, it doesn't have to be super, super long. Okay, so now the other thing that I said that we would do today is actually create that follow-up system. I'm going to share this with you and feel fine tweaking it whatever way that works best for you, and yet you may not want to really leave big pieces out. And Paul, like you had said this earlier, and I know talking with Sylvia and Donna, we've talked about this. With expireds, you almost have to call brand new expireds the day that they expire, or somebody else gets to them. With for sale by owners, it's not that intense because they're probably not going to list with the first agent that calls them anyways. So have one day a week that you're going to call for sale by owners. Maybe Mondays you call for sale by owners, and everybody's different. We liked Mondays because they went the whole weekend. If they haven't had any showings, they're a little bit more open to think about maybe this isn't going to work. So maybe on Mondays you call for sub owners, and you start off, like, let's say that from 8 to 9:30, you're calling all the new for sub owners. Then from the next hour, you're going to call all of the for sale by owners that you've been working with, right? Following up and hey, how are you guys doing? Did you get that offer? Blah, 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 right? Now I only have to think about for sale by owners on Monday. And then I can catch that rhythm. So on Monday, I'm script practicing, I'm reading my stuff, and now I'm having those conversations on Monday. So unless I've got an appointment set up with one, it's just Mondays. Now, something that everybody's different on this piece. Personally, I don't want to put them in my database, just time-wise, unless they are going to actually end up like listing with me, right? Or I may be showing them as a buyer. Some people might want to just throw them into command and then set them on an action plan, and that's fine. It's for me, what worked is I would get a binder, just a binder. And that was my for sale by owner book. And I'd have a sheet of paper, and it would have all the questions that I was going to ask the for sale by owner, at least like an address line, their name, blah, blah, blah. That's it. And when I would call them and I would talk to them, whatever they said, unless they said, don't ever call me again. Okay, I'm not. And yet other than that, I'm just going to write like everything that we took, all my notes, and then I'm going to move them forward 1 week in my binder, right? And then, so all the new ones are in that front of the binder, and then I got week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, all the way to week 8. And every conversation, I either throw them away because they not just went under contract, they closed. I throw them away. If they went under, if they listed with another agent, I'm gonna throw them away. And I know that both of these things are gonna happen some. No harm, no foul. Like, I'm not gonna be attached to, I'm gonna be attached to what I'm doing, not what actually happens, right? I'm gonna keep getting better and better, and then I'll get the listings. And then it's very simple, just in one spot. Now, once I have once they say, yes, start showing me, houses as a buyer, or yes, come list me, then they go into my database. But otherwise, I'm calling them, let's not put them in our database until they actually become a client, right? Otherwise, before that, they're just a prospect. So that's so that tickler, we used to call it a tickler file folder for people that are older, but just have one, so just tabs. Hole punch it. It keeps it very simple. Monday, open my for sale owners. So you might go, that might mean Sunday night, if you don't have an assistant, Sunday night, you're going to pull your for sale owners if you're not using a system. Or maybe, Monday morning, you're going to do that before your call. So you just put it in your schedule, call the new ones, and then follow up. Now, that's the simplistic and right, and they keep moving forward for 8 weeks, and that's the system that I'm going to use. Now, there's a couple of other things that people have been doing that have worked for sale by owners. Take some of these scripts, record yourself on video, and if they aren't answering the phone, send them a video email of what they're, video email of, what you're going to question. Maybe week 3, everybody gets a video email, and depending on if they're funny or you're funny, don't force it. But if you're funny, you could almost go, Paul, it's Monday. You knew you was going to hear from me. So I thought I'd let you off easy and just send you this. Can I help you, man? Right? And you can then you're touching them different ways. I would also suggest once you have their name, go and friend them on Facebook. Now, I wouldn't harass them. I wouldn't, but friend them on Facebook. And if you see something about that house, come from contribution. Like, hey, I wanted to, give you I don't know, you can come from contribution, but like, oh, did you know about this or that? Hope this helps, right? So you kind of can drip on them that way as well. But that's kind of the synopsis, but start with the basic and then you can start adding pieces in instead of trying to create the whole thing. And so the first step is just making the call or making the connection. And then going, okay, I called him, I talked to him, I'm going to move them forward to next week. That's it, right? As you move forward, you might then want to add in mail pieces and things like that. I will tell you though, most people that go immediately to that, they don't ever actually get around to calling them. So I'm going to suggest, as much as we want that, because we want the whole system, it's too much, especially if you're just starting to call them, you've got other things going on, just get in the rhythm of calling. When you're doing that for probably at least 90 days and you've got this rhythm, then you might, hit me back up, or you might go, hey, I'd like to throw in a mailer, right? So the only mailer I would say right now is maybe the thank you cards. And even the thank you cards, and I'll post it on my internal Facebook page. So for anybody that wants to go to Olivia's approach, I'll put it here in the chat box. I'll post it in there. There is a, I completely lost my train of thought when I hit that button. What did I just say that I would give you? I would share.
You said about mailing a card?
Oh, yes. So the thank you card, even the thank you card, you don't want to just say, thanks for, talking with me today. That's nice. And yet what's the call to action? Hey, Paul, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. If we can be of any service, please let me know. And then maybe you have a link to some resources for them, or maybe you put something else in there, but like actually make sure there's a call to action. Maybe there's something like, hey, if you'd like to get my for sale by owner checklist, text me at, and maybe you have one of the text messages that do an automatic text message thing. With that said, I want to make sure that nobody heard me say, do that right now. That is, get in the rhythm of making the calls, then bring in that next piece. Otherwise, you'll be creating things and you'll never actually make the call. I do want to come back to, there's even commission objections. So we want to have different ways to say that, not this many ways, pick 1 or 2 different ways that you're going to internalize around your commission objections. Okay. So what I'd like to do now is with everybody, we go back to what you wrote down at the beginning of the call. Did we handle what it is that you wanted to walk away from today with, or unmute yourself and ask that question so that we can make sure that you do walk away from this call with that piece handled. Because we'll all be able to learn from one another.
I mean, my only goal for today was just to find out more pointed questions to get kind of a bigger impacting results.
And did you?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot here that I feel like I could use that would hopefully steer the conversation to a more pointed direction.
Perfect. And I would add to this is keep always level shift, right? So it doesn't matter what they ask you. If they're asking, that means they're engaging. That also means when they're asking questions, they're controlling the conversation. We actually want to control the conversation. If we notice, and this isn't just, you know, and Rose, this might not be you, I don't know you that way, but I know that I'll speak for me. People start asking me questions and I'm answering and I'm talking and I feel good. I'm like, that conversation was awesome. Guess what they just did? They controlled that conversation and you right out of it. You did a lot of talking that wasn't of value for them. So when they ask a question, making sure that we get in the habit of going, you know, that's a really great question. Let's do this. Why don't they, you know, there's like 15 ways that, or, you know, let's do this. I can come out to your house today at 5, or we can set an appointment for tomorrow at 4, which would be, I'd be happy to answer that and any other questions that you have. So always level shifting. Well, how much would you charge for commission? You know what? That's a great question. And without looking at your house and seeing what it is that you actually are looking to do, I really, you know, I can't answer that question. I'd be happy to swing by and you know, spend about 20 minutes with you, and I could give you an answer to that. Now, if they press, really, you can't tell me, say, look, you know what? There are some agents that would quote you that over the phone. The challenge is, how confident would you feel if you called a plumber and said, hey, I have a leak in my sink. How much will you charge me to fix it? And they go, oh, $20. What are the odds when they get out there that they're not going to come out there and then maybe give you a whole lot better, you know, a whole lot different? I'm just like them. Until I see what I'm dealing with, I'm not going to be able to give you an answer. So again, I could stop by this afternoon, or I could make an appointment for tomorrow. What works best for you? So, you know, telling stories works really well too. Can I tell it very succinctly? Okay. Perfect. All right. Who's next? What'd you get? What's your questions?
I actually very much enjoy the plumber comparison. It's very real, and people, you know, it's catchy too. It's like, oh yeah, I get it. The one that I enjoyed very much is the you know, the binder, as simple as a binder with you know, the 8-week taps and just moving them. Again, I'm really starting with for sale by owners, and I kind of need as much help as possible, and everything. I just need to take really more the time on going over all the scripts and feeling more comfortable and doing that. But the binder, believe it or not, is actually very helpful.
Good. Perfect. And then and always keep in mind that it doesn't, like, if you guys spent the next 2 years internalizing these dialogues and you're like, I could say anything to everybody, when you knock on the door, it's all going to go out of your head and you're going to forget. And that's why I say, like, as you're practicing and reading and becoming great, still step on the court and have the conversations, because that's actually what's going to help you know which scripts to learn the fastest, because they're going to say something, you're going to be like, I didn't even know how to handle that. You're going to go, you're going to find it, and nobody will ever get you on that one again. So that's the good part. Okay. What about you, Donna? Did you get what you needed? Okay.
Yeah, I did. So I wanted, you know, my note was to be able to get some great scripts that I can master. And I think once we master the scripts, the confidence to make those calls is going to be there. And you're right, you don't need to memorize them, but to just have something to become familiar and to internalize is exactly what I needed. And then I love your system with the binder. How easy is that? I'm not spending another 4 hours putting more contacts into command that aren't real contacts until they're real contacts, right? I don't want to waste time. I already do enough of that. So I love it. It's going to be great. And, you know, yeah, it's really easy. It's really easy to follow. It's just a matter of just getting up and doing it now. And like you said, do it every Monday. You know, I think it's great to do it every Monday. Like you said, it's a whole weekend. People always think this is the weekend. And then when they don't get it and you call them on Monday, there's the opportunity.
That's right. And it's that system. You can get a rhythm. And even if you're like, especially in the beginning, like, I don't want to call for sub owners, you're like, how cool is it at the end of the day, Monday, that you're like, check, done it. You know, like, that's really, yeah.
Or get your first listing, right?
That's right. That's right. All right. Anybody, Paul, is there, I know that I think we answered yours. Is there anything else as somebody, especially as somebody that calls for sale by owners, anything you picked up or any tips that you would give us today?
I just started calling for sale by owners, and you gave a lot of great tips. One of the things I struggled with prior to this call, I think with all the scripts you gave, is kind of what you just talked about, letting them lead the conversation. I was telling my coach that I found that they would lead the conversation and I would end up agreeing with them. And then when they got off the phone, I was like, no, that's not how that was supposed to go. And then you're trying to figure out, well, how do I make this call back to them? I love everything where you were talking about making sure that we have a call of action. I think sometimes because we don't know scripts and we don't know what to say, we forget how important it is every time we talk with them to make it clear that we really do want the business. Yes, we do want to help them, but we're also looking for business. I also like the way I've been overcomplicating it. I've been doing like a combination of a text and a phone call, but I've been doing it too much. So I love the way you just talked about just taking it down to a Monday. And so I learned a lot of helpful things today. So thank you.
Awesome. Very cool. Thank you for joining, Dana. All right. Paul? Did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I love this. This is great because it's right up my alley. And for sale by owners have always been part of my business since I came into real estate. And they're a great source of business, even if you don't ask for business. You know, I mean, like you said, there's many different ways to service a for sale by owner. You can qualify their buyers. You know, you can hand them a sign-in sheet. Maybe they don't have that, and I'll say, listen, I'll follow up with them for you if you like. If you get their house sold, you know, it'll be a good thing, and otherwise you get more buyers. I mean, just tons of stuff. And I always, for me, what it was is once I figured out I was coming from contribution, like, could I make a friend today?
Yeah.
It took all the pressure off. And using the scripts around that was really helpful because then you're, you know, I mean, if it made sense for us to, you know, work together and I could actually net you the same or more that you would on your own, you'd want to know about that, right? I mean, it's just kind of that easy. And it sounds very simplistic, and it's not, but, you know, it's kind of like looking for the chink in the armor and being able to open that door, right? So that really has been my key to that. This is good because it gets me back into all the stuff that, you know, every time something's not working, you look for the next magic bullet, right? And so you go to the next thing and the next thing, and it's kind of, I guess I've been doing it long enough that I'm coming full circle that this is really good stuff.
Perfect.
And I was just talking to people about some of the books I'm reading and some of the other things that I read 20 years ago were like, oh yeah, that was cute. And now I'm like, holy cow, that really is smart to use, you know? So.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. And that is, it really is. So, and I love what you just pointed out too, is when we're not getting the result that we would choose to have, or something's not working, we go and go, well, what's next? Instead of, and I always, and I probably because, you know, Kobe and Michael are on my mind because of, you know, Kobe had passed away, and then because of the Hulu special, they didn't go, okay, well, how's there a whole nother way to create a whatever? They went, how do I go back and making my dribbling better? How do I go back and making this shot better? Where's my hand on the ball? That's where we get really good. Because that's a lot of times we get to good and we stop at good because we quit interrogating that piece, so we don't actually get to great. So, and they're great examples of somebody that made it great. So thank you for sharing that. John, Katina, Casey, anything else you guys would like to add?
The consistency is the key, I think. All the for sale by owners that I've listed, it's just going back to the same home every week. I remember one neighborhood that I farm, and I just listed another home in the neighborhood, and that one of the for sale by owners was, and actually I started that neighborhood with for sale by owner, just kept knocking on the door. Another for sale by owner is like, no, I'm fixing up the home. I watched her fix it up. She's going to sell it herself. She's going to do everything herself. Every week I kept knocking on the doors, doing the open houses, or every month. And finally, I came by and she looked exasperated. I said, are you ready to list with me? And she said, yeah, John, I just can't do this anymore. And I've sold that home and I sold another home for her later on. So it's that consistency, and it's not always, I think the most interesting thing is when you're sitting at the table or when the scripts just start to work and suddenly, oh my God, they're actually listening with me. When you're doing the first FSBOs and it's starting to work, it's like, this is actually happening. That's such a great feeling after knocking on so many doors and getting so many no's. It finally starts to work. It feels great.
Yeah, perfect. Love that. What was your any takeaways from today?
I like what Paul just said. On that one script that we always hear, it's like, if I could show you how you can make more money. And he said, if I could show you how you could make the same or more, and I'm doing the work. I think that was generally what you said. And I love that little twist on that. That was really helpful.
Perfect. Awesome. All right. And who did I miss? Katina or Casey? I know some people are going to call in and listen, but is there anybody else that wanted to add anything or had any questions before we wrap up?
I do. Good question.
Okay.
All of you that you've been doing for sale by owners for a while, do you always select kind of in a specific area that you actually walk it, or you just go randomly and see where the luck is?
I don't discriminate from areas. And my experience is that even if they're kind of further out from my, service area that I work, I find that it's good practice to be able to talk to them, even though I probably won't end up listing the house. So I don't feel offended if they, if they scream at me or hang up, because I'm never going to have to really see them. And the other side of it is that, eventually, if I don't list it myself, I can always recommend somebody that's a local expert, and still get some piece of that, return.
And I would actually add something to that, Sylvia, that's a great question. And I agree wholeheartedly with everything, how you answered that question. One agent that I worked with in the past, I thought was pretty interesting. If they were in very rural area, but if they were an hour away, he would call them and stay in touch with them. He'd call them every week, or, but it was, or if they were up to an hour away, like anybody that wasn't just really close, but he wouldn't offer any previews. He would call them, he would use them to practice going in for the kill, right? It was, hey, I saw your house is for sale. You interested in hiring an agent? Nope. Can I stay in touch with you in case that changes? Yep. Okay. And then he would follow up that way, but it wasn't anything, no previews, no nothing. Cause it wouldn't make sense for him to drive far away for that conversation. If they were within, and depending on your area, right? If they were within, the area that he markets or 10, 20, 30 minutes, then he would do those previews. So that might also help, because very much like that, he was like, they said no big deal. But if they were 40 minutes away, too far to preview, and yet they said, yeah, they weren't too far for me to take the listing, right? So that might help as well. There's one last thing that I want to make sure that I share with you guys today. Remember I said there were 3 different books. You had the lead generation one. That's what we've been working on. Go in there. There are tons of scripts for expireds, for working with buyers. I mean, they are amazing. The other piece is, because there are 3 of them, go to the one, go to all 3 of them, but I'm going to take this. There's one, so that's lead generation that we've been in, and there's seller one and a buyer one. The seller one, do the same thing. Scroll through there. There are going to be lots of things that will help you, and it's not that you might not already do it, but maybe you do it, but it takes you 10 minutes, and by using the script, you can shorten it to get there in 5 minutes with the same outcome, right? Or you're saying it a certain way and you're not getting the result you want. Come back here and go, oh, you know what? I bet if I said it that way, let me use this. But in that, the script sellers, there are examples of walking through that, touring the property. They've got setting the stage, so explaining the need for honesty. Getting them to the kitchen table, what to say when you're doing, if you're walking through. I love this, explaining agency, Have you ever seen a football game? There's a red team and a blue team. The red team is the seller, blue team is the buyer. The red team has the right to hire a coach, a listing agent. That coach has the right to help that team win the game. They can put who they want in the game. They can pull who they want out of the game, and they can call any play in order to assist the red team win the game. Now, the blue team also has the right to hire a coach, a buyer's agent. The coach has the right to help that team win the game. They can put who they want in the game. They can pull out who they can call any play in order to assist the blue team win the game. The intermediary or the dual agent can often be explained as the referee. They will assist both teams and must remain honest and fair to both in representing fairness of football or real estate. All parties must be informed of representation. Isn't that, like, to me, that's a much more powerful way of explaining agency than the way that maybe I've explained it in the past. There's different examples. Then there's how do you conduct a needs analysis for the seller? So go through this, because the cool part is this won't just help you with your for sale owners. This is going to help you with every single seller you will ever work with. Now, some of these, and this will tell you how old this is, we probably don't have to explain Keller Williams to anybody. We're no longer Keller who, right? We are the biggest, baddest. Everybody knows who we are. And yet there, even in these, there are going to be things that you're going to pick up that you're going to go, oh, that's powerful. Because it's still, how do we stand apart than somebody else? Why does the Y4C2Ts matter to our clients? This helps you say that, right? The culture is based upon a belief system that's summed up by this acronym, Y4C2Ts, win, win, or no deal. When we face problems in our, when you work with the Keller Williams agents, or when you work with me, when we face problems, we're going to encourage the exploration of how everyone can win. Integrity, do the right thing. We live by this. We do what we say we're going to do. We believe in doing the right thing. Customers always come first. Keller Williams Realty would not exist if it did not have customers. So you can actually, when you list with Keller Williams, you get a company working for you that has a great reputation in the real estate community. You get a team of highly trained and motivated real estate consultants. You get the collective experience of more than how many ever associates are in your market center. You get, because we all work together because of profit share, right? You get the state-of-the-art technology to analyze, market, and sell your house. And you get a network of more than, I don't know, gazillion offices throughout the United States, Canada, and now worldwide that brings together many buyers across the continent that might be interested in your house, right? So go through this, and I would just go through it, like just download it. Don't print this one out yet. Download it. Start, okay, I just want to read this through like a book this weekend, and then go, okay, I want to download that page, or print the whole thing out. That's fine too. They're even like the ads, they want you to run something you don't want. Now they're going to be talking newspaper language, right? We probably don't come under that, but the same language can help you in something else they may want you to do that doesn't actually work for your business, right? How to say it powerfully, explaining the window of opportunity, because they want you to put it on the market really high and then come down. So, sorry, I get really into this because it's so great and it's already written and I can just go pluck it out. So, all right, with that said, I so appreciate your time. If there's anything that you need or I can do, reach out to me. You guys that have, you're already in coaching, you've got a MAPS coach, I'm sure they can continue to help you with this. If you don't and you need something, let me know. I'm going to put in this chat box, and there's a couple questions, so I'm going to answer these too. But if you go to Facebook and type in Alivia's Approach, spelt like this, because my name is spelled with an A, because my mama is not a great speller. She's amazing, just not a great speller. So Alivia America, right? So Alivia's Approach, there's lots of tips, tools, and things on there that you can utilize. And then there's even, I did a video there the other day on how to memorize your scripts better, faster, easier. Now, Amanda, who I think she's already had to jump off the call, she does for sale by owners, and she says she offers a $5 Starbucks gift card for friends that text you a for sale by owner sign. They will always be on the lookout for you. And guess what? I love that idea, because that's your community. That's your database that you're getting to buy coffee for. So that was really cool. And then Dana, how long do you suggest we drip on FSBOs? So the 8 weeks, and then so in 8 weeks, if they still haven't sold, I'm going to suggest you're probably going to go to monthly, depending on the conversations that you've had. So even when I say the 8 weeks, we're always going to use our emotional intelligence. So if I'm talking to them and I feel like they're on the verge and they need tipping over, I might decide to talk to them before. Or if I feel like there is, I don't know, something else that's going on, I might wait a week, right? We're going to use our emotional intelligence there. And if we're 8 weeks and they're still happy to talk to us, they still want to sell, but then you might keep doing it. But that's a good rule of thumb is, 8 to 12 weeks, and then start working on a monthly just so they know that you're still there. Yeah. All right, I think that's it. This is recorded. I will post it on the Alivia's approach. The KW manual, it was the KW script seller's manual. Is the one that I want you to review. And then there is the KW scripts buyer manual that everybody should review. And the one that we worked out of today is the KW script lead generation manual. And you can find those on KW Connect. All right. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.